Good morning, afternoon, or evening, anime enthusiasts, and welcome to the Hidden Online Podcast. This is Callie.
And this is Quinn, here to help you embark on a journey through the latest and greatest in the anime world.
From shonen showdowns to slices of life, we try to cover it all.
We are your fellow anime aficionados, bringing you the latest buzz from the anime sphere, and we thank you for joining us in our adventure. As usual, we'll hop into the news first, of course. The two big things that I wanted to talk about today with news, which you just had the chance to see some of them. These two actually excite me a lot more than last week's news. Probably because we've been talking about Blue Lock, Haikyu. I think you even said in our recent conversations that you were thinking about rewatching Haikyu, which right now would probably be perfect timing because we have a new Haikyu movie coming out May 31st here in America. So, what do you think of that? You saw the trailer. What'd you think of it?
It looks amazing. I have not finished Haikyu actually. I was gonna rewatch Blue Lock. That's what
that's
what
right.
Yeah. To. But watching this Haikyu trailer makes me want to actually go and cook through it now. Looks good.
Yeah. It does look really good. You should cook through it. It's coming out the end of next month, May 31st. And I know saying next month like it's not already basically May.
Right. A couple days away. Hey, is that character on the other team? Is he in the series or is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I haven't met him yet,
yes. So when you get further in, you will see that character.
Cool.
That I will say, I did want to note that I saw that apparently it grossed like $63 million in its initial release over in Japan for its its initial box office release. Jesus Christ, I'm like stumbling.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I stumbled through that one.
We made it.
But yeah, so apparently it came out back in February, and it's now just getting released over in America. So
is 63 million? Is that pretty good for?
It sounds great, but you know what? That's a great question that I don't have an answer for.
Okay. I mean, that's a lot of money.
It does, yeah, 63 million. I will say, I don't know if most of the time when we're talking about like the amount that they make at the box office, you're trying to look at how much it costs to make it. So normally their goal, I think from my understanding is like any movie, any animation or anything like that, their goal is to double at least what the cost was to make it. So as long as they didn't end up spending, more than like 30 million, then it was probably a pretty good box office hit. Something that we could potentially look into later though.
Yeah.
Interesting question.
Yeah, for sure.
The other thing, which I'm super excited for, is a new Netflix original anime movie called The Imaginary. And the reason I'm so excited for it is because I know, and if you're an anime fan, then we all know that unfortunately Studio Ghibli, or Ghibli, however you pronounce it, I'm not sure. Do you know which one it is?
I always hear.
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah, now
Ghibli
that I'm
Ghibli.
thinking about it, I don't know which one I hear more often.
But I'm gonna go.
Ghibli, but...
Yeah, I think I say Ghibli normally too, but I'm gonna go with Studio Ghibli, The Heron and the Boy, or The Boy and the Heron.
I didn't get to see that. I heard it was good though.
I haven't seen it yet either. I'm waiting for it to come to stream, but let me see. I'm gonna get the exact name. The Boy and the Heron. Yeah, The Boy and the Heron came out last year, and it was supposed to be the final movie of the studio, and they decided after that the studio was done. But some of the alumni from Studio Ghibli have moved on to a new studio called Studio Ponoc. And they're coming out with a new movie called The Imaginary. And if you go look at it, it's going to give you very reminiscent vibes of other Studio Ghibli films.
Yep. Watching the trailer definitely did that. Did
you get like what were some of the other movies you could compare it to? Because I thought Spirited Away automatically when I saw like they had like hinted at the kid disappearing.
Yeah,
and that was
for sure. No, just that like stylistic art. I mean, even online you'll see different animes stylized in Ghibli art style. It's just you just notice it right away.
Yeah, Yep, it's a very, very reminiscent of all the older Ghibli films.
And I
So
mean, it looks like it's probably gonna make you cry a little bit.
yeah, and apparently the director for this one was actually was the co-writer and director for Mary and the Witch's Flower. I don't know if you ever got a chance to
Mm-mm.
see that one. That one's also on Netflix.
Okay.
Very good. Very, very Ghibli reminiscent for
Yeah.
sure. Highly recommend watching that one if you ever get a chance.
Yeah. So since we're on the topic of Netflix, this is something I wanted to bring up later, but we can go ahead and bring it up now. Netflix is pulling in some anime, man.
Yeah, they
They
are.
are. They're trying to scoop them up. I just saw the other day. I think it was yesterday. They've got. I mean, they're getting all JJK. They're getting the movie. They're getting the seasons, and now they're, I guess, a little behind, but yeah, they're just starting to pull in a lot of new stuff. Let me go back and try to find
Oh,
the.
I saw that they pulled in My Hero.
Yes,
Um,
yes, they did do that.
they also have their Records of Ragnarok, which is
Mm-hmm.
really cool.
Haikyu
There's a
is
new
coming
one.
back. That they're bringing it back. It used to be on Netflix. Now it's coming back again.
Oh, cool. I wonder if it's going to be if the movie is going to get streamed on Netflix. I'm sure it will
Hmm.
eventually if it's not coming back exclusively. But there's a new anime. I don't know for anybody who loves anthology series like I do. I love anything that's an anthology 99% of the time. There's a new anime on Netflix called Grim Variations, and it's an anime anthology series. Each episode is a like twisted variation of the original like Brothers Grimm's tales, like Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood.
That's cool.
Um, yeah, it's pretty interesting. Definitely very interesting takes and twists on the stories in ways that I would have never imagined for sure.
Yeah,
So I was just gonna say you're right. Netflix is pulling in a ton of anime.
yeah. I wanted to find the list. It's a lot easier to see when you're actually on Netflix, but I cannot seem to find it on the old interwebs, the trustworthy interwebs. They do have a new season of Black Clover coming soon, which
I think
I
that
cooked through
did
that
they
yesterday.
I was about to say, did they announce the actual season? I thought it was supposed to come out this fall. I just didn't think that they had like a specific date yet.
Yeah, it just says coming soon right now. Okay, so coming this week, we have Haikyu, JJK, JJK Zero, Doctor Stone, some more Black Clover. So, okay, so it is this week. They're definitely trying to keep up with the anime game, which is cool.
Well, I think they probably realize that there's just money in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about it like this: there are entire streaming services starting off of just anime, just one genre
Yeah,
of.
and Netflix has probably seen some success with certain and Netflix originals. Wasn't Cyberpunk Netflix original?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and that did really
They
well.
have some really good Netflix originals too. Like they picked up Baki, which if you haven't seen
Yep, yep,
that,
yep.
love that one. Kakeguri, which is a really interesting one about a gambling addicts at a high school. Um, there are a lot of people who are like B Star fans too. I don't know if you ever watched any of those seasons. There's B Star,
Beastar?
and
No, I
then
haven't.
they've also just been coming out with all these new ones. Like I haven't watched this one yet, but I have it on my list. It's Onimusha or Onimusa, and then there's the samurai with the blue eyes or blue samurai. There's a lot. They've just
Blue
been
Eye Samurai.
building
Yeah,
up
yeah,
their
yeah.
repertoire. Yeah, Blue Eyed Samurai. There you go. Thank you for the correction there.
Konosuba, have you seen
Dude, okay. I'm actually glad you brought this up,
that?
and maybe we could just bring this up after we do our review because
Hmm.
I watched Konosuba and you know how I complain about there being too many isekais and how everything like so
Yeah,
many
yeah, yeah.
isekais are just
It's yeah.
played out. This is a comedy isekai and it is genuinely hilarious to watch.
Okay.
And I want to bring it up later after we finish our reviews. We can
Yeah,
talk about it more in depth. But yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'll have
yeah.
to remember that.
Last Netflix thing. Have you seen Delicious in Dungeon?
Yes, I've
Okay.
been watching every episode.
Yet to watch that, but I
I would
feel like it's
say
doing pretty well, right? Like that's
fantastically. In
okay.
fact, the very beginning of it, I thought this anime is kind of like it reminded me of watching Frieren, which I know you haven't already seen too, but like it just starts off real calm for the most part. There's like one big thing happens, and then characters start to get to know each other, and there's a lot of cooking, and
Yeah.
they're like traveling down in the dungeon and like killing monsters and cooking them up and making interesting cuisines out of them. But then the part of the episodes where they're at right now, it turns from this like almost lighthearted, slightly adventurous feel to like really dark and
Sounds
like
like our D&D games.
yes, yes, that's a great point. It feels very reminiscent of like a D&D game, but these characters with like the whole premise of like the beginning is they have to go back through the dungeon to save someone, but they don't have any money to keep rations. So
Mm,
that's why they start like killing and eating the creatures that are in the dungeon, which
gotta eat
nobody
the wolves,
does.
eat the orcs.
Yeah, well, I don't think they eat orcs. Their rule
That's a
is like
little
they don't eat anything
cannibalistic.
that's too humanoid, like too like
Okay, yeah,
humanoid
that's a good
looking.
one. That's a
So
good rule.
yeah, so but they have interesting creatures and concepts like moving armor, like armor that moves on its
Oh,
own.
cool. Yeah,
That's a
animated armor.
creature itself. It's like a mollusk that slips itself in between the plates of the metal of
That's
everything that.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
hmm
Hell
You'd
yeah.
like it. I would highly recommend when you get some time. Definitely check that one out.
Yeah, what are they? 18 episodes in?
Yep, and they're airing weekly right now.
Okay, nice. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check that out. So, all in all, Netflix is keeping up with the anime game. So, pretty
Yeah.
exciting stuff. Definitely something to look forward to. Competition makes everything better, you know? So, if
Absolutely.
you got Crunchyroll, you got Netflix, you got, I mean, Hulu even has some, they've got Thousand Year Blood War, they've got, I mean, they
Yep.
have Go Go. So,
Go. Yep. They're getting, I will say, I think they're doing a good job of getting their exclusives on some really good animes. Like Go is a great one for them.
yeah.
And then Thousand Year Blood War is a fantastic one. They got one of the big three exclusively
Yeah.
for their release.
Yeah, that's huge. I'm
Yeah.
almost there, by the way. I am cooking through
I
the
know. I'm
manga.
so
I'm very
excited for you
close
to
to
get to
Thousand Year.
Thousand. Wait, well, we're gonna get the second season this year. Guess what? We're gonna be able to review those together
Let's
finally,
go.
and you'll actually be caught up. I am so excited for you to be there.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
Me too,
Yeah, I'm
man.
on
I'm
this
so ready.
Fullbringer thing right now. It's interesting. We don't have to go too in depth. We can definitely talk about that at another
Yeah,
point. But yeah, excited to get there nonetheless. Do we want
yeah,
to hop into some weekly review?
yeah. I was actually gonna say it's good that you just mentioned Go. I was gonna recommend last two episodes we've been reviewing Kaiju first. Let's switch it up and go with Go first.
Okay.
And see, I wanted to hear. So, what are your thoughts on the latest
Okay.
Go
I'm
episode?
confused, honestly. Like it could be me. It could be that I'm just kind of out of it because of just I've been out of it on pain meds this weekend, but I feel like I was more confused than not confused.
So, what were you confused about? Let me ask you that.
Well, this would have been near the end of the episode. Just the ability for him to switch up who he looks like, and so Fighter D and our boy Sakurama basically switching bodies. Or
Yeah.
Fighter D, doing his mimic ability, just confused the fuck out of me. And there was some mention of a power, like something with a bond. I'm sure you realized that you picked up on that.
I did see that, but I don't think that I'm not so I have a theory about that per se, but I want to
Okay.
come back because that was like towards the end of the
Yes. Let's
episode.
start at the
So
beginning.
like
Let's start at the beginning because
okay.
that part's less confusing.
I was about to say the beginning you probably loved because you got to see
My boy
Homelander Red
Homelander.
Keeper come in and just like kill somebody right off of the bat.
Man, I knew. So they're assembling for this meeting, and which apparently they haven't had one in a while, and his first rank officer started going off on him,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I kind of liked that guy, the first rank officer, before he
You
started
didn't
going
like him
off.
for long.
No, I didn't like him for long because I knew that was a bad mistake, and of course Red's like, yeah, you know what, like you're
You're
right,
right.
you're right.
Yeah.
Proceeds to absolutely fuck this guy,
Smash his face into the wall.
and then
Yeah.
he continues
Just
eating with blood dripping down the wall behind him.
Yep.
Very Homelander-esque.
Super Homelander vibes. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
big time.
So
Did you
yes, I was
notice
a fan of
too?
that.
Did you notice too that when Suzukiri came in late, she was kind of, being nonchalant, not caring about what the other keepers thought. But when Red finally spoke up, like she was getting sassy with Blue, and Blue was getting sassy back. But when Red finally spoke up and said something, that's when she like bit her tongue and bowed and apologized. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Now that you're bringing it up, I guess there is a level of respect or fear.
I think it's
or
I think the it's fear mainly, because if
yeah.
you notice, when she came in, she didn't seem like she really cared about the attitudes of any of the others. But
No.
when Red said something, that's when she was like, okay, I better, and it's probably for the same reason, because she knew that he would do something like he just did, which was kill his lieutenant. Which was
Yeah.
nuts, just seeing him smash that dude in the wall.
Not surprising
Also,
at all.
yeah.
Definitely on brand with with what with what the writer is going for, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I would even say so. Um, I wanted to also point out that Suzukiri, I think it was like her internal monologue when the lieutenant and Red Keeper were talking. Suzukiri mentioned essentially that his lieutenant was the one that leaked the information to her about where the divine artifact was within Red Base, within the Red Keeper's
Oh,
base.
yeah.
And because he was talking about like loyalty and uh being part of the Rangers and or part of the Keepers and everything, and it's like she was internally dialoguing like, yeah, that's real good loyalty that with you just leaking
Yeah.
classified information like that to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like we finally got the answer of when Fighter D asked her, how do you know this stuff? It sounds like she probably got that information from him. Um, which is funny because as of right now, he would be the only other collaborator who would have known that Suzukiri has been like asking around stuff that would be questionable, but now he's dead, so they're not going to find
He
out
is
through
gone.
him.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure, right? Like, I mean,
his face got smashed into the wall. So
yeah.
if he's alive, I'll be very very surprised. But now we can move on to the part where, and I want you to, I want to hear your thoughts on this. I was right. I was so happy that Fighter D wasn't dead.
Yes. Okay. Yep. He. I wondered if they were gonna hold out a little longer and make you wonder, but they brought it up pretty soon on. I mean, it was like right after that banquet scene. So, did Sakurama have something to do with the explosion being like a? I mean, like what was that part? It was like I swear I was just super confused on this whole episode, honestly.
I will say I do think, and maybe this is just the subtitle translation. It did feel like it was a little poorly explained how exactly he survived. From my understanding, if you remember, right before he made it onto the roof, he had dynamite on him. The dynamite that was given to him by Sakurama, or not Sakurama, it was
Oh,
Suzukiri, I think was
Suzukiri,
the
yeah.
one. Yeah, Suzukiri was the one who gave him the dynamite. And from what I can tell, what it looks like is he used that to make it seem like he died, but in reality, he didn't actually die from the weapon. He did get damaged. We did see
Yeah,
that he did get damaged and he had trouble healing from it. But I think he used the explosion to make it seem like he would be dead. But Blue caught on to that
he
because
did.
he was like, he shouldn't have just died that way. That's not how he would have died. So
Yeah, he picked up on that, and so I guess like the divine artifacts, just getting hit by them doesn't necessarily mean you're dead, but if it's a fatal blow from a divine artifact, then you're
yeah,
probably cooked.
yeah, that seems to be the case at least. And it seems like the divine artifacts. The other interesting thing is, now that we're talking about the divine artifacts, is uh, when Blue decided to go with him, one of his lower ranking subordinates went with him, and he was carrying a scythe
Yeah,
that
a replica, a divine artifact
a
replica.
replica. And this we can bring back a little bit to what you were talking about before was like the power of bonds.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is probably more of a gimmick rather than reality. Because you got to remember, this whole series is all about the gimmick, the outer
Mm-hmm.
look, like what they're selling to people. Because when he finally found Fighter D and decided to try and fight him, he like slapped this like cartridge thing into
Yeah.
the back of it. And so I don't think that that's like power of bonds. I think that that's probably like, hey, we did some research and development and figured out how to take, some of the abilities from these divine artifacts and
Oh,
put them into a
gotcha.
replica.
That
And
makes
like this
sense.
device helps them use that power.
Okay, so
Um,
that's like a man-made device based off of the divine artifact. You think?
yeah, yep,
Okay,
I think
I
so.
think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think that they just sell the idea to their subordinates that whenever they give them something like this, is like you have these powers because of our bond as on our team. But in reality, it's probably just a piece of technology or
Yeah.
something along that lines. So that fight was insane, though. This man came through when he finally found Fighter D and just chopped down an entire area.
Yeah, it was really cool. The like ranged scythe slashes, pretty sick. So sorry, I told you I was confused on this episode already.
Yeah, go ahead, ask
When
questions.
Fighter D was I'm so he was mimicked as Sakurama, turned, clearly cut his head off. How I don't understand. Like I feel like there is a lack of explaining like how is that even possible to like fake that?
Okay, so they slightly allude to it when him and Sakurama are hiding behind the rock while his name's Hikaru, I believe is how
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pronounced, with the scythe. He's he's going wild, chopping down everything, trying to find out where Fighter D is hiding, and they're hiding behind this rock, and they decide to work together. So he realized after trying to grab the weapon from Hikaru that Fighter D could not touch it. That the divine weapon was literally like Satan to holy water. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
basically how he reacted. So, and Sakurama realized that he wasn't going to be able to infiltrate without. Which we'll need to go explain this a little bit more in a second, but we're already on this train of thought. We got to go into Sakurama's motivations for sure. Sakurama decided to help Fighter D, and to do so, he chopped off his hand, and it looks like Fighter D has like grafted his body on to have this person's real hand onto his body. So now he can actually grab it, at least with that one hand, because it's not his hand, it's a human hand,
Mm,
um, instead of the nefarious monster hand that he had.
okay.
So, and then as far as faking it, it's really just a matter of it's really to like we saw like a head come off, but Fighter D also faked. If you noticed when you saw Sakurama, he had both hands. So he had, and they even showed that like the hand was like disintegrating. Um, he had a fake hand from Fighter D on his body, so that Hikaru wouldn't notice that they had like done this swap of limbs.
Gotcha.
Um, so most likely what he did is the Fighter D took parts of his body hidden underneath his clothing or whatever and grafted it onto Sakurama to make him look like Fighter D and hide everything. And then in the end, they faked the death, and now Fighter D has a perfect into the inner depths of
Yeah.
the the Keepers organization.
Yeah, true.
So
Okay. I mean, the plot thickens.
it does thicken. But I think the coolest thing about this was I do think we were right when we talked last episode. We were saying I asked you, I was like, what do you think Sakurama's motivations are? Because he was the most genuine, I
Yeah,
think, out of all of them. And I think this episode we got proof of that.
for sure.
Uh, especially with his background. Like, what
Yeah,
did you think of that?
I
I was
was
going
gonna
to ask you,
ask you the same thing you're asking about his backstory.
do you think, okay, do you think his family, was that a cult?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I think so too. I think it was a cult for sure. I think that was a cult almost certainly.
And it looked
Um,
like that's the same, I'm assuming, boss, one of the nefarious bosses that we saw at the end of episode 3.
it definitely
Looks like the
looks
same guy.
like, yeah, it definitely looks like the same face. I don't know if he's one of the bosses or if he's just like some sort of just other monster from somewhere else.
Yeah,
But I agree. I think it's the same thing from the end of episode 3. Um,
I liked
it
it.
de-
I mean,
oh yeah.
like that the bosses are actually they're the monsters are still evil, still killing innocent
Mm-hmm.
people. So now you have these monsters who, had bad intentions. And you have these rangers who don't have the best intentions. So it's a very morally gray, like there's not like a black and white like you're
Mm-hmm.
good, you're bad, except for Sakurama. He seems like he's a good boy.
He seems well. I don't know if I would say, man. I don't even know if I would say good boy. Technically, he's kind of going against the Rangers right now, so he's kind of siding with the bad guys, or the nefarious monster army slightly. I think
Slightly.
he's, I think he's the most genuine character we have so far.
Yeah.
Like he's the one who doesn't seem like he's trying to hide anything, or has any ulterior motives. Whereas like he when you saw his backstory, he was influenced by the keepers, but he also still has like his parents' mentality where he doesn't want all this fighting and war and
Right.
stuff
Yeah.
like they didn't want. Um, and so I think it was nice to see like, okay, well, he does agree with the Rangers protecting people, but he doesn't agree with the idea of continuously fighting all the time, which is why we saw him decide to help Fighter D, I think. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it was really cool. He while yes, he's siding with Fighter D. I feel like he's almost on his own. Like he has his own agenda. Like you have these two big factions that are going against one another, or they're opposing factions, and then he's like kind of somewhere in the middle.
mm-hmm.
Feels like, and
Almost torn. Yeah.
yeah, trying to team up with Fighter D. Like they want, they don't. I guess they want the same outcome. Well, maybe not. I mean,
Mm.
Fighter D wants to take down the Rangers, as in like kill them all.
Mm-hmm.
Sakurama wants to take down the whole organization, but in a way where you're not killing everyone. You're just, offering this new way to live.
Yeah, Sakurama wants to break the cycle of like hatred and like violence. That's what
Yeah.
he wants. His whole goal, but he wants to do it in what he sees as the best way possible.
Yeah. Man,
Um,
these weapons look so cool though. The divine artifacts.
yeah, yeah, they are pretty sick. They still look like bone to me. Even that
Mm-hmm.
scythe
Yeah,
looked like
it does.
bone.
It
Oh, you
has to be the dragon thing, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say at the very beginning we kind of skipped this a little bit because we still haven't seen much. We last episode we saw him for like a split second. We got his name now, Ryu, um, but
Yeah.
but the little dragon guy. Last episode we see him just sitting there and then he just stares and that's it. He even says stare.
Yeah.
Um, and then in this last one, the Rangers are fighting. He just pops up out of nowhere, tells him to chill, and Blue Ranger grabs him and starts twisting his body. And he's like, "Oh no, you're hurting my cute little body!" Like,
Yeah. Like a weird little pet that seems like maybe he actually is pretty powerful, but
mm-hmm.
not taking it seriously. I don't know. Interesting. There's something there. Something with these weapons and this dragon.
Yep, there's definitely something. But I think that for the most part, I think I hit everything on that I wanted to hit.
Yeah, like I said, I spent most of this episode a little confused, and it could be the pain meds kicking in and not allowing my brain to really function like
Well,
it needs to. But
in your defense, there were a few things in this episode, and I'm just wondering if it's a translation thing.
yeah,
Because we're reading it in sub. I'm just wondering if maybe there just wasn't enough translation, where some of those parts just didn't feel like they were explained very well, and it was more inference rather than like direct explanation. Because everything I responded to you about is that's all. A
yeah.
lot of that is me
Hey,
just inferring.
what
Yeah.
was up with the blue rank, the third rank guy? He started like melting.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if that was like a result of the weapon usage or if that was just a over perspiration. Maybe maybe it was an animation design of like him being able to like perspirate because he did like fling his whatever that was, whether it be
He
sweat
did,
or
yeah.
like
He
him
used it
melting.
offensively.
Yeah. Um So I'm not sure. It's a good question. It's something we could look out for in the future to see. Maybe there is some sort of adverse effect to using these replicas. Um, I don't know. There's not really enough information to speculate too far, but this whole time we've been looking at the Rangers, and they keep saying how only the Rangers can use these weapons. What would the effect of someone who's a non-ranger trying to use the same power, what would that have on them if the rangers are the only ones who are supposed to be using them?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a side effect or something.
Interesting episode. A little confusing, but we made it.
Yep, we did
got
make
there.
it. Yep. It's a good setup for next episode, though.
Yeah,
I will say.
It was a bit of a setup episode, which I'm gonna rate it 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I think 7's good.
I think that's where I'm
I
sitting.
think 7's a solid score. It wasn't as good as last episode, but they had to release some more information. There's a lot to cover. Yeah, I think 7's good. I think we can overall hop score of 7.
Hoppity hop hop. Yeah, that's good for me. We can go Kaiju now.
Yep, let's jump into it.
All right, man. So, in my opinion, another bit of a setup episode. Too. Not a ton happening, but I think it's about to go down. So,
yeah.
And obviously we're doing a little training montage in a way, going through the boot camping, the entrance exam. A lot of fun. Kafka is hilarious. Not your typical protag by any means. It's
yeah.
It's so funny, man. Those kaiju suits that they had on were really cool. I think
they were super super cool. But I wanted to say I was reading some of the comments on like Kaiju No.8, and there were some people who were complaining about Kafka's like character design being too simple. And to be honest, he's probably one of my favorite main character designs because he's one of the most true to who he is. He looks simple, but that's because his character is supposed to be like super normal, and he actually looks like his age. He actually looks like he's in his 30s. He looks like a very normal average dude, and I think it's a lot more true to the character than just being like, oh, he's so plain.
No, I love it. I mean, there are plenty of high school, crazy color hair protagonists out there.
Yep.
Give me more Kafka. Like, I enjoy it, and honestly, it's a little relatable right now, being 30 myself almost, and my body hurting. I can relate to our boy quite a bit. He even says, "Is this what happens to you when you turn 30?"
Yeah.
I guess so.
And anybody listening who is under 30, just be prepared. I can tell you, once you get to your 30s, you start to feel it.
You're gonna wake
all
up
the
one
time,
morning, stretch the wrong way, and end up on pain meds like I am currently.
Absolutely. I went to a show the other night. I didn't even go. I went to a concert. I didn't even go like hard in the concert. I just stood there or sat down listening to music. The next day, I felt like I was beat for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, unfortunately.
No. But Kafka pushed through, man. He did. Hey, he did pretty freaking good, in my opinion.
He went from 0% to 0.1% suit power. So, got to give credit.
He was at nothing, and now he has something. Yeah, he was. Well, I do want to get to that. Maybe we should start from a little bit earlier. But I do want to get to that because I think that was like a very good character building moment for him. Was the moment when that happened. But in the beginning of the episode, I was not expecting. We talked last time how oh God, what's her name? Shinomiya. I can't remember her first name, but Kikuru. Yeah, Kikuru Shinomiya. We talked about how her suit was badass. You find out she had her own personal suit. She's basically been training with this tech before anybody, which is probably why she has such a high like combat potential coming out of her. I was not expecting at the end of the last episode when she threw the car, I wasn't expecting Kafka to just pick it up and set it up right at the very beginning to try and show off to this little girl.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too. He can we already knew that he could transform just particular parts of his body from previous episodes, but yeah, it was another cool showing of that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely intrigued her about him. Like, she knows that there's something up.
Yeah.
She was like, you smell like a kaiju, but Reno was like, yeah, it's because we do kaiju cleanup, and I don't think she fully bought that, but it was a good enough excuse for that.
She thought he had a suit on underneath.
She did. That's right.
She was like, he has a personal suit too. So I mean, at least you know that in his humanoid powers, like, he's probably just as strong as, or stronger than her, when he goes full kaiju
Oh,
mode.
for sure. I mean, gosh, Buddy is. We've seen him do some damage already. He definitely has. It feels like he's done the most damage to a kaiju on screen. I mean, we've seen Mina, we've seen her take down some kaiju, we've seen Kikaru take down some kaiju now in the fitness exam, and we've seen Kafka absolutely
Destroy. Yeah.
Raining blood. So
Yep.
we also got introduced to what seems like it's going to be like our main cast of characters now at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Got introduced to 3 or 4 new characters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even going to butcher all their names right now.
Yeah, until they start like coming through a little bit more, I think. Yeah.
They seem pretty cool, except for Soshiro Hoshina. He is the vice captain, I believe.
Oh yeah. Hoshina. Dude, yep.
Like, is it just character design, or I mean, Buddy looks like he has vampire fangs. Do you think that's just a design choice?
That's probably just a design choice. I don't know if that means anything particularly, but I do think he was being a little rough on our boy Kafka a little bit.
He was. But he was like flaming him and loving it at the same time. Like,
yeah, that scene where he's like 0%, that's my first one, and then you watch Kafka trying to like pump out 0%. He's like, you're gonna shit your pants, bro. Like, But I did think too. They definitely hinted at this being like, well, not even just hinted. He said it outright. Hoshina said it outright. It's like, yeah, we got a really high value crop here of candidates, because
that's right.
The one analyst who's sitting at the desk there said,
that you barely get one person that's over 10%, right?
Yeah, barely get one person that's over 10%, and they had at least a handful of people over 10%. Like Ichikawa, he was at 8%. He was already super close too. And then Shinomiya with freaking 46%.
Yeah.
This girl coming in here running on walls, jumping around like she's Batman.
It looked like at least two or three of our other main or supporting characters, they were at like 14 or 16%, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, there was some 14, 15. I think there was a 16. Yeah, somewhere around in that range too. Yeah.
All pretty good.
But I loved how when they finally got into the test, they all get in their suits, and they realize like it's not just about killing the kaiju, it's about how they work together. You get to see how their knowledge of being part of the cleaning crew helped them take down these other kaiju.
Kafka coming in with the flashbang play.
Mm-hmm. Telling them, hey, the stomach's the weakest point. That's where it's softest. You can get in there. Yeah, that was cool. I kind of like, I told you right after the episode was over, I felt at the end, I was like, man, I feel so cucked in this episode, because I just felt like it ended way too soon. Like, it just.
Yeah. Which, that's what makes me think this was a little bit of also a setup episode, like we're probably going to be getting some cool stuff soon.
Yep.
Yeah, so probably. It was good.
And then, I was going to bring it back to what you were talking about with him getting the 0.1% or 0.01%. Yeah. Okay. In that moment at the end, like, he thinks he's doing well, he's figured out, he just needs to help the group, show him what to do, and then he gets just demolished by a random kaiju that comes in and just squishes him like a bug.
Yeah. That moment, what are they called? Yoju?
It's I think they're Yojus. I think that's right. YOJU. But I noticed I noticed that when they were doing the flashback, he knew that his childhood best friend was there watching them, uh, and he didn't want to, I guess, let her down. I think in that moment when they're doing that, and he's like, "I can't dream anymore. I'm too old to be dreaming."
Hmm.
I think that was when he finally shedded the idea of abandoning this move forward.
Yeah.
I think up until that point he still questioned whether or not he could do it, and now I think he's decided to abandon all those questions and just keep pushing forward no matter what. And that's when the suit activated. I think like him losing that
Mm.
all that hesitation, that's when he got the 0.01%, and it started
Okay. Okay.
pulling out
Yeah.
combat potential.
Yeah, I could see that. The suits are also really cool themselves, having been designed based off of organic kaiju material. Did you see that?
Yeah, kaiju fibers.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's pretty sweet. And then they have these standard issue anti-kaiju weapons.
hmm
So I'm excited to see what becomes of those, right? Like the suits and like what they're going to be able to do later on down the line. You know, what type of anti-kaiju weapons are we going to see in this series? How
Yeah.
powerful are these weapons going to be? Are they based off of the defense, unit user, or is the weapon, are weapons just stronger by themselves, or do they actually get power like the suit does from the
hmm
user? So,
Eh,
well, actually, let me backtrack just a tad. I believe they did mention when Kikaru she was blasting that Yoju that attacked Kafka, and those
hmm
guys were like, "That's the kind of power you have when you're pulling 46% of the power." So
And she's
it's
not
probably
even
all
pulling
combined.
half. And
Yeah,
she's not even pulling half. So
yeah,
imagine what 100%'s like.
right. Like we're gonna see some cool shit like that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool to think about too,
Hmm.
because before the suits were introduced, you're sitting here wondering, okay, how's the power scaling going to work in, at least as far as the humans go? Because the kaijus are going to be a little bit different as far as power scaling's going.
Hmm.
But this is cool because it's like anybody can come in and they start with like a certain percentage of ability, but as long as they train, they could potentially pull out more combat power from
Right.
these suits. So we could see, like you said, it I believe it probably is going to depend on the person, depending on how much combat power it could determine what kind of weapons they could actually carry. I mean, look at Kafka. He couldn't even carry the rifle that most of the other ones
Yeah.
were carrying because he didn't have enough combat power to
It's like
to pull it up.
only a zero would understand how heavy this is.
Yes, exactly. Yep, exactly. So that's why there could be like heavier, more heavy duty weapons
Yeah,
that
true.
only people with a certain percentage of combat power being pulled from the suit could manage with.
Yeah, he ended up dropping it and just going with the handgun.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No, it was fun. I'm really enjoying Kaiju so far. Also, cool side note, I believe who's the production behind Kaiju?
Production IG, produced by Production IG
Okay,
with Studio Kara.
so production IG, they are kind of changing the narrative with they're releasing they're doing a simul release with English dub and Japanese sub.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
that's pretty cool. I think we touched on that though. Uh,
Yeah, I've been watching them in each. In fact, I did notice. So I do still like the English dub a little bit better, but sometimes the dialogue gets changed a little bit because of whoever's producing it. The
mm,
cultural
mm-hmm.
dialogue can change. So like one of the things I noticed was when he lifted the car in the Japanese version. After that, uh, he like says his name and he says, "Don't forget, kiddo," and he says like "kiddo" in an annoyed voice multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
He says "kiddo, kiddo, kiddo," and but in English he just says "Don't forget my name, little missy," and that's it.
Mm.
So like the tone is a little bit different,
Yeah.
slightly different, not huge, not immense to where it actually changes anything. But I noticed that one little thing, the difference between listening to the Japanese versus the English.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, there
so
there is a little difference. I enjoy watching it in both, and I think both are really good. The dub is actually it's really fun too.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
the dub is awesome.
yeah.
The voice actors they got are so good.
Well, it's cool too that they're just releasing them at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that doesn't happen a lot. A lot of the times you're listening to the sub version for at least a few weeks before the English version
Right.
comes out. They're always 2-3 episodes behind the
Yep.
Japanese one,
Production
or
IG.
sometimes months, depending on which anime and how much funding it has behind it. Sometimes it can be like, oh, we're gonna release the whole season, then 6 months later you won't get the English version until
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
So
And then by that point, like the hype is honestly
yeah.
dying or dead. So why
Mm-hmm.
not? Why not appeal to a wider audience when you can?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just because you're releasing English with the sub as well, people that prefer sub are always going to choose that anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But if
I do
you're
think. Ooh, go ahead.
if
If you're
you're
what?
if you're not releasing the English right away, you're just alienating a lot of people from watching your show. So
Yeah.
there, I don't see any negative to just releasing them both.
So I think previously there would have been a good argument for it with them, like before anime started blowing up in the way that it has over the past like 5 to 10 years now. I think
Mm-hmm.
before COVID and everything, anime was definitely on the rise. But I think when COVID hit, a lot of people were stuck at home watching anything and everything, and there were a lot of new anime adopters. And in previous years, I think the English releases would probably had to deal with money. You had
Mm.
to be able to justify, like, was there a large enough audience to be able to actually produce it in English and make money, make enough money to justify the cost of getting the English voice actors, the translation fees, producing it again, maybe potentially having to change certain scenes depending on what's going on and what's being said. That's stuff that all costs money. But now, with the rise of anime fandom just all over,
Yeah, becoming
I
more mainstream.
it's going to become more common that at least English is going to be coming soon after the Japanese versions, if not being simulcast.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it's a great move. I'm excited to see where this goes if other production companies pick up on this trend. But yeah, I'm gonna go also 7 out of 10, I believe, with my rating on this one. It was a lot of fun. Nothing crazy. Just I believe a little bit of setup going on
Yeah,
for a stepping stone episode.
I'm gonna go 7.5.
Okay.
7.5. I actually I loved the dialogue in this one. I loved the information. We finally got a little bit more information about the world. I'm still waiting for us to learn about where these kaiju's came from,
Yeah.
and
Same.
but I was glad to finally see, like, okay, now we can make sense of like how are people actually fighting back against these
Yeah, for
kaiju.
sure.
So.
And go ahead, just go ahead and give me some antagonists. Go ahead and introduce some villains into this story.
Yeah, and some more supporting characters, which was cool as well. But I am excited. I think we do need a good antagonist.
We
Right
do.
now, we don't have like a main antagonist. We have an overall, just like general antagonist of kaiju's.
Yeah, yeah. This
Um,
this force of kaiju that they just show up. But yeah, I'm excited to see some other faces. Give me an antagonist. Give me a good one.
mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
think we'll get that soon.
Yeah, I think so too. Probably within the next, I would say in the next 1 to 2 episodes, probably.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, for sure. Cool, man. Yeah, that's a hidden online. 7 out of 10, 7.25 out of 10. I think
Yep.
that'd be
Right.
the
The average
official.
score. Yep.
I guess we can talk some MomoCon, some
Yeah,
cosplay.
actually, real quick before we get into that, because we were talking, you mentioned Konosuba at the top. Before we get into
Yeah, yeah.
MomoCon, I just wanted to say, you do need to go if you want a palate cleanser, if you want something to change up everything that you've been watching for a while, and you want something funny, go watch Konosuba.
Okay.
It is genuinely. Let me give you the synopsis. Okay, it's a isekai. Here's a synopsis of the first episode. Main character is walking home from the game store, thinks he sees a woman about to get run over by a truck, pushes her out of the way, and then he wakes up and he's in this afterlife sitting in front of a goddess who's told him that he's died. And he goes, "Well, how did I die?" And she said, "You actually died in the funniest way I've ever heard of someone dying." and he thought he was pushing this girl out of the way of a truck. In reality, it was a slow moving tractor. It wasn't going to run over her. It didn't run over him. He passed out from shock, peed his pants, and then on the way to the hospital, he just died from a heart attack because he was in
Wow,
so much shock. And
that
so
is pathetic.
this goddess is laughing at him the whole time she's telling the story. And she says, well, you can take, she gives him like all these like papers with items and stuff on it. And she goes, you can take whatever you like to this new world. And you can go into it with that item. I'll give it to you. But she's like laughing and making fun of him for dying the way that he did. And he's sitting there. He's like, I don't like any of these things. He goes, you know what? Her sassiness. He's like, I can take anything, right? I'm gonna take you. And another goddess comes down and says, well, this is within the rules, so you now have to go with him and help him beat this devil king or whatever. So he takes
Wow,
this goddess with him to this new world.
that's hilarious.
Oh yeah, you
Okay,
have to.
yeah, yeah, I'll check it
It's
out.
the entire thing. You like there are times where you think it's gonna get serious, like oh they're finally gonna like take it seriously. Nope, it all ends up turning into a joke in one way or the other.
Nice. Okay.
it's so, but yeah, anyways, let's talk MomoCon now. Now that I've gotten my little advert for Konosuba out of the
Yeah,
way.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so MomoCon, we're just 4 or 5 weeks out. Uh, we both ordered all our cosplay at the same time. I did get my Blue Lock stuff in. It doesn't fit. Of course, it doesn't fit because it's just how it goes. These sizes,
Hit or miss.
yeah. So ordering another one soon.
I haven't got my Blue Lock one in yet, but I did get Deku, and I did get Minato. Oh, that reminds me, I still need to try and order
The
Minato's cloak.
cloak,
I
yeah.
haven't ordered his fourth Hokage cloak yet, but I do have everything else that I need for him. So
Nice. Okay. I believe I went ahead and reordered my new ones. Yes, I did. Okay. Yeah, so I'll have some new cosplay to try on come Monday. My Dobby stuff came in, my hero.
mm,
It fits perfectly. It's it's perfect. I'd throw it on right now, but it's across the room.
no,
Um
you're just looking at it from across the room.
yeah. It's nice. I'll definitely show you soon. But yeah, I'm pumped, man. The closer we get, the more excited I'm getting about all this. We've got quite a few people coming to hang out with us this weekend. It's gonna be a
I'm
busy weekend.
yeah, I'm super excited for MomoCon. I'm just excited to go to a convention, to be honest, just in
Yeah,
general.
yeah.
I think the idea of being around a lot of people, like-minded people who enjoy the same stuff, is always just a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's. I think what I'm most excited about is just to see everything that they like. Do you know any of the events that's going to be happening, or do you know? Have
I
you seen
haven't
if they
looked yet,
released?
but they do a lot of panels all throughout the
Okay.
weekend. So, and that is from just airing different episodes of anime, having different conversations about anime, having panels with voice actors from different
Yeah.
anime, different video games, all stuff like that. Um,
I'd love to go sit in on some voice actor
oh,
panels.
for sure. Well, I wonder if they have. Let me see if they've got it up.
A release schedule,
Yeah,
or yeah,
I don't see anything currently, but
if they don't
I
have anything
imagine
yet, I'm
within the
sure.
next few weeks we'll be getting
I,
announcements and
I was
such.
about to say they almost guaranteed will release something a little bit ahead of time, so
Yeah.
we'll just have to keep our eye out for that. On the next episodes, maybe we can bring those up once they finally release what we're going to be looking at as far as events during MomoCon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just super excited, man. It's always a good time. Just kind of hang with the boys, have a couple
Yep,
drinks, walk
I
around,
still need to
enjoy the
do that.
weather.
I still need to do that research on the other cons up here. I got to
Mm.
find out. You know,
Mm-hmm.
let me put that on my to-do list for tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, they do have some. They got some voice actors. Oh, they also have musicians and stuff like that too. Yeah, I see a lot of voice actors on here. This will be cool.
It would be really cool too if I don't know if they'll do this at MomoCon, but I think as anime gets bigger and these conventions get bigger overall, if they get to the size of like Comic Con or like Dragon Con and stuff like that, might start seeing some of these bigger bands that make these openings and endings
Yeah.
coming and doing some sort of performance or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, yeah, cosplayers too. They'll also have other cosplayers. I'm looking right
of
now.
course.
Yuri Lowenthal, the voice of Sasuke, and I believe his wife. They're both gonna be there.
Cool.
So that's
Heck yeah.
cool. He's the biggest name I've seen so far on this list. But yeah, man, should be awesome. Excited.
Yep.
It's gonna be a busy weekend.
Yeah, it is, man.
That's all I got for MomoCon. Just pretty much just looking forward to it.
Yeah, same. I think that's all. We'll have to look into the updates and then see if we can talk a little bit more in depth as they develop. It just doesn't look like they've announced enough yet for us to dive too deep into it.
And we'll do our big MomoCon podcast that weekend too. So gosh, if we don't talk about anything up to then, we'll have plenty to talk about at that point.
Absolutely.
Well, we can talk about fitness. I guess I can start by saying that I got injured this week by waking up and being close to 30.
Yeah. I was gonna bring it up earlier, but I was like, we're gonna talk about it here in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get there to the very unfortunate truth.
Feeling like a worse version of Kafka this week. Yeah.
I mean, he's very relatable. He is a very relatable character right now. Yeah, I've pretty much just been. I took Thursday and Friday off work. Was just laid up all weekend on muscle relaxers and steroids.
Yep.
I did get to binge some anime, so I binged through the rest of the Seabed Temple arc in Black Clover.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, so that was cool. And I kind of have the itching to keep going now. Like I got reinvested in the story.
Oh yeah, dude.
So that's cool. Outside of anime though, anytime something like this happens, I try to redirect my focus instead of being upset or bummed that I can't train. I try to maximize that focus in a different direction. And like this is a great time to really hone in on diet or sleep, resting.
Yeah.
Or even like going on walks, like doing like leisure, like very light activity, but still something. I sat out in my yard this morning in the front yard in my lawn chair for like 20-30 minutes just soaking up some sun, and I'm probably going to go do that again after we finish this, just to kind of keep it, you're moving the blocks forward still, even though
even if they're incremental.
Yeah. And even though if it's not the way you normally do, where strength training, resistance training, stuff like that, you're still doing something. So for me it's a opportunity to try to focus on, okay, cool, well, I'm pretty good at resistance training and I've been very consistent with that for the past 3 years. Let me pick up where I might be slacking in other areas, like diet, like light movements, like sleep and such. So it's an opportunity. It doesn't feel like an opportunity at first when you're like looking at it and fuck, dude, I'm just in pain. But
well, I think that's it's a great way to look at it, is whenever you do face a challenge, it's an opportunity to get better in other areas. I think it's also important too, you think you hit it on the head a little bit there, is that when you get injured like that, it's your body telling you need to take a break, you need to relax. But it doesn't mean just sit around and do nothing. A lot of the times, certain injuries, sitting there or laying down all day is not going to help it. It's just going to hurt it.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, when you say I go for a walk or something, like light activity, like whenever I like pull like my hamstrings or something like that, I do light walking. Or whenever I hurt my shoulder or something like that, I just do like stretching throughout the day just to try and loosen it, but nothing intense, nothing super hard, just something to keep the motion, because your muscles will tighten up and then lock up, and then you'll just be in even more pain.
Right.
But I think too, you also, it's funny that you said like you brought out the point that it's a chance to like start getting better in other areas, because this week I signed up for a personal trainer to help me with like overall movement and mobility and stuff.
Nice.
Because, and he put it really, really well. I loved this quote, and it's something that I'm probably going to like use for the rest of my life, is local issues can cause global problems. And he was talking about how you need to isolate where your defects are in your movements. Like, he found that I'm having issues with like stabilizing my hip abductors and stuff during squats and leg exercises. So he's putting me through different exercises and stretches and stuff to try and help strengthen those movement patterns in those specific areas of my body. And it kind of applies here where you're talking about where when you start seeing problems in one area, it's time to kind of like take a step back and strengthen other areas. So that way when you can get back into it, like when I can get back into doing squats normally and be able to actually lift the weight that I want to lift without worrying about hurting myself, I'm taking the time to prepare for those movements and that type of stuff. It's
Right.
the same as changing the aspects in your day-to-day life.
Yep. This was a reminder that I need to get deep tissue massage every 2 weeks too. So, gonna make sure that that's a thing. And I know we've talked about this, like having low impact cardio training, like either be swimming or biking. For me, I would be able to do more consistent biking than I would swimming. So I'm looking into that currently as a form of cardio and just low impact on the joints. Just because we train a lot, and we're pretty much putting our bodies through the ringer all the time. So if I can minimize
5-6 days a week,
the impact on my joints, I'm gonna take it. So something like biking could be good light activity. Still getting the cardio in, still getting the sun, still getting time out in nature, all that such. So
you gonna wear one of those tight spandex shorts?
I haven't. It's not in my cart yet, but I mean, I feel like I have to, right? I wonder if they have one that's like a anime themed.
Oh, that's a good question.
Bike tights. What are they called? Probably not called bike tights, but
I think they're just called biker shorts.
Biker shorts.
They also have, I think, like biker pants as well. But I don't know. I'm not a biker, at least not in that sense.
I'm not either.
I've never used biking as a form of cardio except on the stationary machines at the gym. So
compression gym shorts, which you do have some compression gym shorts.
yeah, my gym shorts have compression shorts built into them.
Yeah.
Most of them do. So
yeah, we'll see, man. I don't know if I'm gonna go full out yet. I'm definitely not gonna be one of those assholes that blocks traffic on the road. I hate those guys.
It's funny you say that. There's this cool thing in Texas when I used to live out there. It was like one Saturday a month, they would do this thing called critical mass. You'd get a ton of bikers, all on one route, and they'd end up at like this bar area, but they would just go and basically like just take over the road. They had so many people on bikes that would take this route. They'd end up at this bar where you could go and eat and drink afterwards when you got to the end. But it was a pretty significant trail, but they would take over the road for quite some time.
I hate all of them. If I do get a biker anime outfit, it's got to be Rock Lee. I gotta find a Rock Lee outfit.
That would be, I think,
that's
fantastic.
It, right? Yeah.
That would be, that would be fantastic.
I think that's the only option I have. Yeah. No, I'm seeing some cool stuff online right now, but I'll get back into that later. We don't have to. I'm not gonna hold everyone up over that. Gosh. I mean, I think that's it for me this week, man. I'm definitely a bit more docile and
it's okay.
under the weather just because of all this pain. But next week we'll be back to normal.
Yeah, it's an off week. It's fine. We had some, even our anime was not full of the amount of excitement that we would generally want. So,
which hey, I'm actually thankful for. That's good. Because this was, I was down this week, and the anime was a little bit, hit a little bit of a slow turn. So I'm cool with it. I'll be back up to normal, even better next week. Maybe we'll have some hype episodes to review.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited! And then next week.
Wait, are we adding in anything?
I think next week is going to be the release of
My Hero.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So is this our last episode with just Kaiju and Go-Go?
Believe so, because if I'm not mistaken, May 4th is the day that My Hero Academia Season 7 drops, at least the first episode. So that means that we will be reviewing 3 anime. Actually, this might be a good time to kind of just go ahead and give any of our audience a heads up that the podcast once My Hero Academia comes out and once we hit Demon Slayer, we're probably going to start cutting back a little bit on the news talk and focus more on the reviews, because we're just going to have so many reviews to try and shove into an hour and a half worth of time. So we're looking into potentially trying to release a separate segment on news later on, somewhere down the line. So keep your ears out for that, your eyes out for that. We'll post something up online as soon as we start it. But we're thinking about potentially just separating the news as its own separate show.
Yeah.
Somewhere down the line.
Yeah, I think we'll have to, because we're gonna be flooded with 2 extra shows. So
not only just that, those 2 extra shows are going to be going for weeks, and then July there's even more stuff dropping.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So we're going to have a crazy anime summer.
Yep. Yeah, we are.
Spring and summer, we're going to have a lot going on. And the content's probably going to shift and change as it goes, depending on how much we got. But we're looking at trying to pump out as much as possible and keep up with as much of it as we can. So
yeah, for sure. Just bear with us while we navigate this unknown path.
yeah. As we figure it out going forward, yeah,
it'll turn into something, and it'll play out how it's supposed to play out. So not worried about it, but.
We'd appreciate any of the comments. If you guys want, you can go check out us on YouTube and on Spotify. Give us comments, give us feedback.
Criticize the shit out of us.
Yeah, criticize. We can take it. We promise.
Yes.
And then we also have an email that fans can send in stuff if you guys have ideas or anything else. There's Callie and Quinn at hiddenonlinepodcast.com. That's CALIANDQUINN at hiddenonlinepodcast.com.
Yep. All right, man. Well, I think that's us signing out.
Yep, that's it from me.
All right, y'all. Peace. Be sure to check us out on Instagram at Hidden Online Podcast or email us at callieandquinn@hiddenonlinepodcast.com.